All right, and I'm just facilitating. Shelly, you go for it.
Hi guys, thank you so much for joining us for Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. As this is a book club or script club, I should say, it's not, like a class. So I'm sure that by now you all have read at least Act 1. The script that I'm holding in my hand is the paper copy, but the PDF that was on the link, that's exactly this. So all the page numbers are the same and everything is the same. And I want to just jump in by mentioning the names of the characters, a little bit about Agatha Christie and the show itself, and then you all are familiar with this lovely poem. I thought I would just read it anyway because it's fun. So the play was originally written in 1939 by Agatha Christie, and its original title was 10 Little N-Word. I don't know if you all are. Yeah,
I know what that is. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the original title, of course, at that time, it was a derogatory term, of course, but it was that was the accepted title. Later, they changed the title to 10 Little Indians.
And then that was considered too insensitive, and then they went to, I'm guessing, 10 Little Soldier Boys, and then we went to And Then There Were None. That's
exactly right. You got it. And if you were to follow, like on Wikipedia or any of those sites that talk about it, as you said, as the social and political tide changed, the title changed, so that audiences would be more receptive to it. And of course, the story itself, other than the title change, didn't change. Mm-hmm. The original title change comes from the poem. So 10 Little N-Word, that's from the poem, and then 10 Little Indians, and then 10 Little Soldiers. So this is the poem for those of you who just need a refresher. 10 little soldier boys going out to dine. One choked his little self, and then there were 9. 9 little soldier boys sat up very late. One overslept himself, and then there were 8. 8 little soldier boys traveling in Devon. One of them got left behind, and then there were 7. 7 little soldier boys chopping up sticks. One chopped himself in half, and then there were 6.
How the hell could you do that?
Well,
like
show. So,
like you literally just go like
something like that. 6 little soldier boys gathering a hive. A bumblebee stung one of them, and then there were 5. 5 little soldier boys going in for law, till one got in chancery, and then there were 4. That doesn't quite rhyme, but there it is.
I think it's probably pronounced fall.
Well, 4 is 4, number 4.
Yeah, 4.
Law and 4. Okay, half rhyme maybe. 4 little soldier boys starting out to sea. A red herring swallowed one, and then there were 3. 3 little soldier boys walking through the zoo. A big bear hugged one of them, and then there were 2. 2 little soldier boys playing with a gun, and one shot the other one, and then there was 1. 1 little soldier boy left all alone. He went and hanged himself, and then there were none. Mm-hmm. So that, of course, is the poem. And how many of you guys have actually seen this show? Have you? LTVB did it, I guess, 2018?
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago. I saw it there.
Did you see it?
Uh-huh.
Anybody else ever see it? Well,
nope.
One of the things that sets this play up for the initial interest to the audience is this poem itself is displayed prominently in either the house or it's played on a record recording. It's up to the director. So there are characters in the show. Rogers, who remembers who Rogers is? Anybody remember him?
Isn't he like he was like a police detective, a former police detective, or was that? No,
he's the man.
No, that was Blore. That was Blore. Blore was the former detective. Yeah.
Rogers is the manservant.
Yeah, Rogers is the butler, yes.
Yeah, Rogers and his wife are handling this big, huge, empty resort, if you will. And then there's Fred Narracott. He is who?
He's the delivery boy from the mainland.
Narracott. And then there
My
is
extension to the house.
Vera Claythorne.
You've seen my house.
She was hired as the secretary to Mrs. Owens,
Yeah, she's the governess. Yep,
former
who
governess.
comes-
Yeah.
Yes, right, same thing. And then
Mhm.
there is Philip Lombard.
What you watching?
Ex-military.
Philip Lombard.
Yeah, he
He's
was
like a war
ex-military. He was
profiteer.
Yeah.
yeah, he was a war profiteer. I think he was a
Yeah.
soldier. I'm not sure.
Yeah, mercenary
Yeah.
soldier.
Oh
in
yeah, he was a
Africa.
mercenary. Yeah. In an East Africa contingent.
Yeah.
Right.
Something like that.
Oh, Nina, we have a chat too. How do we add? There we go. Got it. Yeah, okay, gotcha. I've added the Laura's on the chat too. So okay, and then there's Anthony Marston.
Who I think is the owner of the house, or he's like the son of the owner or something like
No,
that.
he's just some playboy.
Oh, he's
some
just some playboy.
wealthy playboy
He drives fast cars.
D-bag. The Eric Trump of the show or something like that.
And then there's
Did I say
William.
that?
Moore. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Nope, I didn't mean it. I didn't say that. Nothing political here, not political.
Then there's William Bloor.
He's the guy
He's
that
the
claimed to be
detective.
Davis. He went trying
Right.
to use a different name, claimed to be from South Africa. Yeah,
Then there's General Mackenzie.
South Africa.
That's the general guy.
that's the retired.
Yeah, that's the
military.
general guy.
Emily Brent.
I think she's Lombard's lover, or
No, she's just
no,
a
no, 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 no.
spinster
no,
woman.
That was Vera. That was Vera.
She hooks up.
That really confused me. I kept mixing their names up because
Yeah,
I'm like,
me too.
Vera's the old lady and Emily's the young girl.
Yeah.
Right.
Obviously,
Emily's
because
the
that's
young
what it
one.
should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vera sounds like an old lady name.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does actually, doesn't it? Then there's Sir Lawrence Wargrave. I love that name, Wargrave. It's perfect for him.
Yeah, it pretty much defines his character.
And then there's Dr. Armstrong.
Yeah.
So
Right.
The doctor.
if you guys remember the beginning of the play, so we're going to cover Act 1 or as much as we can until about 8 o'clock, and then we will pick up again the next time with 2 and 3. The reason I think that that's probably the best way to go is because tonight we're going to cover about 70 pages, and then 2 and 3 are only about 30 pages left of the script. So the play takes place in a living room on Soldier Island, off the coast of Devon, England. And the very first act is a summer evening in August, and then Act 2 is the following morning, and then the same day later in the afternoon, and then Act 3 is that same day and then the following afternoon. So, what do you guys remember being like the premise? What are your thoughts when you first started reading this play? And
I
you know
think
the
it-
murder
And the
mystery.
something.
It reminded me a lot of the beginning of Clue, where it was like
Oh
mysterious.
yes, it's like
A
mysterious.
mysterious rich person invited them to their house, and then they're not showing up till the next morning. So
Yeah.
everybody's kind of surprised.
Yeah,
And then
Yeah.
Everybody
but nobody
starts
else
dying.
knows that the other people haven't met them before.
Mhm.
Like it's a surprise. It comes out as a surprise, and they
Yeah.
find out that they didn't know.
Mhm.
So
Honestly,
it's all sort of
whenever-
awkward introductions.
I don't know
So-
Clue. That's later than this show, right?
Oh yeah. Clue came out in like the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came from the 80s.
Isn't it the board game that's then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the board game came first and then the movie. If I'm
Oh,
not
yeah. The board game was around 30, 40 years ago.
Okay.
The board
It's been
game's
around
very-
a long time.
Well, to be
Yeah.
honest, the 80s is also 30 or 40 years ago. So
Yeah.
Well, see, I'm not
No,
thinking
it's
that.
not.
I'm 74, so I'm like, that's
Yeah.
very recent to me.
No, no, the 80s was just
Clue, the board
yesterday.
game
What are you
Clue,
talking about?
though.
I'm saying
Cluedo is
the-
very old.
Yeah,
It's like from the
play,
20s.
the play and the movie, I think, are both set in like the 60s, I believe.
Clue?
hmm
Mm,
Yeah. Well,
mm,
let me think.
I think the music that was playing when the cop came in, it was like Shaboop,
I
shaboop.
would
So
say
maybe
more
50s.
the 50s. Yeah,
Yeah.
early
Yeah.
50s probably, because they still talk about how like Colonel Mustard was a war profiteer, and
Yeah.
so I mean it can't be too long after World War II.
Mhm.
So this is like it's
Mm.
it's pretty much a complete rip off of it. Like it's just this
Is it?
story completely.
Yeah.
Clue
Yeah,
is,
Yeah, 'cause
and then
I'll
it's
have
like
Except
to
I
see if
think
they-
I think
including
Clue
multiple
had,
endings.
Yeah, except I think this one had like 3 multiple endings instead of this one having just like.
this has
Oh,
Yeah.
Clue,
Two.
Clue actually says it's set on June 9th, 1954.
Oh,
There we go.
there
okay.
you go.
So yeah, it was the 50s.
So
They had a singing telegram. You know,
Oh yeah.
had to be around then.
I don't know. Yeah, so I'll have to check that one out. So here, the best part about this play, or one of the best parts I think about this play, is the way that this play is established, the way that Agatha Christie sets it up is very different from her other murder mysteries. So she usually has kind of a Christie style whodunit. And this is the formula. I want to read it to you. The original or the regular Christie whodunits, which this is not like at all, sets it up this way. The detective stumbles upon a murder, or he's called upon by an acquaintance who's involved. The detective interrogates each suspect, examines the crime scene, and then makes a note of all of the different issues, like, you know, the shoe is bloody or whatever, and makes comments on each of the folks who are suspects. At some point, one of the suspects dies, probably because they figured out who the perpetrator is, and then they had to be silenced, which did them in. And then finally, the detective arranges for a meeting with all of the remaining suspects and exposes the guilty party, as well as exposing other unrelated secrets along the way. So this story is completely different. We,
Yeah.
as audience member,
Are
have-
the detectives.
we are the detective. Exactly. We
Mhm.
are the detectives. So I think, I'd love to hear what you all think. I think because of that, I like this story. It's my favorite Agatha Christie play because nobody knows the answer except for the murderer. There's no detective trying to figure it out. So you're on the ride with all of the different characters. And so you're doing the same thing they are. Like it could be you, or it could be you, or it could be you. What do you guys, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree with you.
I felt very much the same. I kept, like, every time there was a new person murdered, I went back to look for like any sort of clues, like who was with them, who left the room right before them. Like I just kept going back in the script. I was only going to read the first act and first half of scene 2, but I read the whole thing.
Yeah,
Me
I
too.
also-
Every note,
whole
and then I
thing.
was like, I need to know more. I need to know more, and
Mhm.
like went through
I
all
was
of
like,
the notes.
okay, I need to trace back my steps, see what happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely like. I don't want to give away any secrets, but I mean, like, okay, we all read
I
in
mean,
Act 1. Somebody dies in Act 1.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so like when Marsden, I was like, who handed Marsden the glass? I like went back and I read every stage note, and I'm like, what is he drinking? Is anybody else drinking that? Who could it be? Like I just kept going back and looking for clues, and there are none.
There you go.
Yeah, because
And then
even
there
the
were
act-
none.
Yeah, it's like you expect like the script to have like all the answers, you know, so that, you know, when you do it, it makes the audience think like, oh, who done it, when in reality it's all in the script. But in this case, even the script doesn't have any of the answers, so it's almost left up to not only the audience but the cast to figure out who did it.
You know
So-
what would be
Yeah.
really cool, I think, would have been a cold reading of this with people who had never read it before. So that the
Yes.
actors are actually trying to figure it out along the way as well.
Yes.
Like they
Mhm.
actually don't know where it's going, and they're like, "Ah, crap, I'm dead. I didn't see that coming. I thought
That would be cool.
I thought I was the killer or whatever, you know, like they have no
actually had-
clue."
I had actually thought
Oh my
about
gosh,
that when we
that's
first were
That's
going to read
cool.
it. That's what I was thinking. Laura, you look like you were going to say something.
Yeah. Back when we were back in my high school, when we read the book in our high school, like everyone was like, we had like a poll to see who actually did it and stuff, and like people were so thrilled and like on whether or not they did it or not. It's probably like my favorite book. Like,
It is
Agatha
a lot of
Christie.
fun. It's a lot of fun.
Mhm.
The other thing about this that I think is so clever on Christie's part is the fact that they've all been brought there as guilty parties of a murder. And they're all secluded on this island. So there's no one from the outside that you suspect.
Yes.
What do you guys think about that? Especially the fact that they're all guilty of some crime. What are your thoughts on that?
Thrilling. It just adds to the thing. It's like, who did it? Because they're all murderers. So
Yeah, that made it really interesting. Like, it's like, okay, who's either they are all crazy killers, and then it was like, well, is it going to be like a coincidence that they all die like this, or is it like a premeditated 10 little soldier boys thing? Like, I didn't know what to expect because I had never read this book. So I was like, well, what's it going to be? Is it just kind of like this underlying thing that's like the audience only knows it and only the audience sees it happening, or what? So I was kind of like, is it going to be like one of the I kept going back to Clue because it's one of my very, very favorite movies. And I have always sat around thinking about how it could be staged and come up with crazy ideas of staging it and things like that. So like the whole time being like, is it different people who are killing different people, or is it one unified killer?
Yeah.
Because like there's one of the endings in Clue is that everybody there had killed somebody else there for wronging them
Yes,
somehow.
exactly.
Yeah. So I was like, is it somebody else killing each person? Like, who killed Marsden, and did Rogers kill his wife, and was it Rogers who killed Marsden? But then like, you know, who did the next one, and is somebody else going to kill him? And I'm sorry, I have an invader. Could you hop down, please?
No,
I'm gonna
I
stretch
think it was. I mean, I think it was kind of clever that she was having. I mean, they're almost like they're getting justice, or justice is being served on them for the crimes that they've committed in their life. I mean, even though they had some reason for each of them committing what they did, you know.
Yeah. There's no explanation, though. It leaves you to want to know. Well, I've read the whole thing, so I don't want to give any spoilers to anybody who hasn't finished it.
Well, but I guess what it
So I
says
know.
to you. Oh, go ahead, Laura. Go ahead, Laura.
I already know who's the killer though. So I'm like, I've already read the book, so spoil.
Well, it's not who the killer is, but like it never explains how they got information.
Mhm.
And you know, that leaves me wanting. Which for
Yes.
a book that leaves me wanting more, that's fine, because then you can write a sequel. But for a play leaving me with unanswered questions, that's going to bug me.
Mhm.
Unless then there's a sequel.
Mm.
So, I mean, like, he never says how he gets this information. I mean, it kind of explains how he would have the information. I mean, and I don't know, maybe that should have been included the others of how he knew.
Well, the thing that I think about in this that I think is interesting is a couple of things. Well, first of all, it's great. This is a great show for a pandemic where people are isolated, because it kind of gives you that heightened, when you're reading it, it gives you that heightened,
Claustrophobic feel.
yeah, and stress to it, which
Yeah.
is great for this because it's a unit set. They're all together, and then you start seeing this. But I think the other thing is you do find out as when they each arrive with their letter or their information, how, you know, either it came through the newspaper or it came through like judge's orders, or there is some type of way that that information can be found. And so it seems even a registration like the child who drowned. So you think
Right.
about each of the characters and how that information could be out there. Not as easy as today for the internet, so we can just Google, oh, let's look up Vera. Oh, look what she did. But it does, you still have
Right.
that, yeah, you still have the idea that none of these crimes went unpunished or unnoticed completely. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
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 So the information's out there. So that gives you kind of that thing. The other thing that I think is so interesting about this play is the killer, which we find out in the end who that is, has a moral, it's kind of a skewed morality.
Like Dexter.
Like
they-
Dexter or Jigsaw.
Right?
You know.
Right.
Yeah.
But they have kind of a this moral code, and they're going to go and right the wrongs of the world, which I think is such an interesting thing, because some of those characters, I don't know about you guys, but I certainly felt that way with certain characters when I read what their crime was, you know, and also not only the crime, but their attitude toward the crime.
Well, yeah, for sure. I
That
Yeah.
didn't really
seems
feel
almost
like
like
it
a
was so
moral
much
code.
of a code.
Yeah, like
Judgment.
I thought that
Judgment.
it was more of a justification.
Yeah, a judgment or whatever. Yeah.
Less of a, I feel like I'm doing right, and more of a, well, I could use this to justify these wrongdoings.
Right. When you think about the African bush, he makes that comment about, well, the Europeans don't see death the way they do, so I'm clear.
Yeah. Yeah, and the pompous guy who didn't care about the kids
yeah.
that he hit with his car or any of his terrible driving, for
Right.
that matter.
He was a terrible driver, and then, so let's see if we can remember, did we already go over everybody's crime? I think we sort of.
Quite.
No.
I feel like
They didn't tell everybody. I mean, there's the passage about what they all are.
So Judge Lawrence Wargrave, he is guilty that, let me see. It just says that I'm trying to remember what he had done, but basically he drove him, he had a series of murders. So I don't really remember. I guess it was who he was sending on to.
He
Am I
sent
right?
somebody to death.
To death, yeah.
I mean,
Somebody died after the sentence that he.
Yeah, that's his crime. Vera, the little boy drowned in her care.
Oh no, he actually killed somebody. I'm sorry.
No,
Wargrove actually sentenced someone to death, an innocent man to death.
yeah, sentenced them to death. Yeah, without remorse. And then Vera, she, the little boy drowned in her care. And then, Philip, he's the one who was the mercenary soldier in Africa. So he's the one that that led them to the bush, and then his attitude was, oh well. And then Armstrong,
he just went out of there and left his battalion to die.
the 21 Africans behind. Yeah. And then there is the doctor, that's Armstrong, and he accidentally killed a patient while he was operating on him drunk, or her drunk.
That all comes out.
Yeah,
that doesn't come out in the first act, though. That doesn't come out till later.
Right.
It makes a mention in the first act that alcohol is a problem for him. That's what
Right.
made him stop
Yeah,
drinking.
they definitely allude to it.
and
Plenty
he
enough.
doesn't remember.
Yeah.
He's like, what patient? I don't remember this patient.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
He
later
does
that-
though, because he
there's
said, "What
more
did he
to
say
each
your
of
name
those
was?"
stories.
Close? No, I don't remember that. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, and
Yep.
that seems to be his
I would-
continuous thing. I heard somebody talking. And then there's Bloor. He was a corrupt policeman.
Yeah.
He had framed a man named Lander at the behest of a criminal gang. He makes a lot of blunders. And then there's Emily Brent. She actually is accused of killing Beatrice Taylor, a servant whom she fired upon learning that Beatrice was pregnant out of wedlock. And so then Beatrice kills herself as a result of that. And Emily is convinced that she is righteous in what she's done. So she has a really strong kind of
She has no
facade.
remorse at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she doesn't.
Yeah.
And
then there's-
Mackenzie is accused of killing his wife's lover,
right.
which he says he doesn't. Oh, and Rogers and Mrs. Rogers are accused of killing their former mistress, their former boss,
Right,
for an
exactly.
inheritance that she was
Yeah.
leaving them.
Yep, Rogers continues to be a proper servant even after his wife is found dead and the bodies begin piling up. The recording accuses Rogers and his wife of letting their former employer die because they stood to inherit money. And then there's General John Gordon MacArthur. He's the oldest. He's accused of sending a lieutenant to his death during World War
It's
I.
changed to Mackenzie
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
right, in
Mackenzie.
this one.
because of when it was released.
Because of
I imagine
1943 with actual General MacArthur.
Right.
it was a war
yes.
hero, so they changed the name.
And there's infidelity, and that's where we go there. And then, of course, there's Roger's wife, and we already know what their crime is. And then
Mhm.
Marston, he's the one who runs over the kids with his car.
Mhm.
And then we get Narracott, who
Yeah,
Doesn't
He's-
even care. He's like,
No.
He's not in
They're
most
in
of it.
right. So the very first thing that happens once they're all together on the island is they listen to the recording. Of course, today with cell phones and the recording, that wouldn't have been a thing. But what are your thoughts when that recording is played for them? What are your thoughts on that? Or the whole beginning of it? It's clever the way it's set up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Swan Song record.
Yeah.
Um,
And then
Here it is.
then they each start telling they each start talking about their own mishaps or whatever, and some of them justify what they're doing
Or deny it flat out.
or deny it flat out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then they eat. And then the first murder comes when?
Marston chokes on the poison drink.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they
But
find
that's
out.
not till after Vera notices the 10 little soldiers on the mantle.
Right. They notice and then those get broken as the show goes along with each person
yeah, they just
getting chopped off.
Mhm.
Yeah. But that first murder sets them up for all the things that are coming. And then when do they notice that it's connected? When do they start to notice that, oh, wait a minute, this is kind of going along with a theme here, and that's the poem?
After Mrs. Rogers is found in the morning in Act 2.
Yeah.
That
Act
doesn't
two,
take place in Act 1.
Right.
That's in
So-
Act 2. Yeah.
Right. So what ends up happening with Act 1 is it kind of sets us all up.
Yeah, I think actually Act 1 ends with the death of Marston,
It
doesn't it?
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
It
that
actually ends with Emily, bitter old lady, finding one of the broken soldiers. That's like
Yeah.
the end. Curtain close at Act 1.
Yeah.
Act
Right.
1.
So to me, when I see this, what I think of is it's like winding up a toy.
yeah.
And you're starting to put all the little pieces together, and then all of a sudden, when Act 2 opens, you put that toy down, and it just starts to
And it
spin.
just starts to go. Yeah.
And then you start to put things together, and that's why Act 2 runs pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So if you were to visualize this, I don't know if you guys are, I mean, because it is a script club, if you were to visualize the set or the direction or the character, what are some of the thoughts that you guys had in terms of that?
I would think of Lombard as like, just like a soldier that's been brought off duty, who was honorably discharged. Well, honorably in big air quotes, but and then we have General Mackenzie, who is also another probably just a general who's probably got like all of his badges and stuff like that.
I definitely pictured it in period.
Yeah, I definitely pictured.
I saw the whole thing in period, like
Yes.
20s,
like,
sort
like,
of
yeah,
20s and 30s. Yeah,
Yes.
like late
Yeah.
Downton Abbey period piece is what I
Yes,
saw the
yes,
whole
yes,
time.
Yes.
And I think it
Like,
mostly has to do with the language they use.
Yes, exactly.
like I'm picturing Emily in like some very like Victorian sort of get up where she's like very snooty. She's got her nose up and she's just like, I'm better than others. I am.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing you would have to note, of course, is the fact that they are cut off from regular communications. So it's obviously a period piece.
Yes.
Got those certain things. But you also want to remember too that one of them drives a car recklessly. And so that's, you know, you've got to make sure that that's included in your discussion in terms of when you're dated and the recording itself. So, you know, the play was written in 1939. I always think of this as taking place like right around 1940, 41, or 42.
Yeah.
Because you want to make sure that you include any kind of military action that they refer to, any type of, like with the poison, what they know at that time, the fact that there's a motor car that kills 2 kids.
Yeah, because I can't imagine somebody running over another person with like a Model T just.
I mean, you could do it.
I mean, you could do it, but you'd have to have that thing modified.
It would be fun or productive.
I mean, if you're driving fast enough, it could be like.
Yeah, if you're driving fast enough.
But one thing we definitely agree on is the fact that it definitely is a period piece. It would not work today with the, you know, cell phones or even any kind of anything that's really contemporary because they're cut off. One of the number one things about this show is they're on an island and they get cut off from the rest of the world.
I actually lived in Cornwall, which is the next county down from Devon.
Oh, wow.
And several of those islands right along the coast there, just there in the British Channel, a lot of those islands will have little tiny coves in them and will have guest houses on them and do not have constant contact
with the outside
with
world,
the mainland.
Yeah.
Right.
Still to this day.
Yeah.
So I mean, the
internet.
idea, the idea of a little rocky island just offshore and like being able to see, like I can imagine there being a little island where you could like see Plymouth or, you know, like see Torquay, I think is where, that's what I had in my mind, because at the beginning of mine, I think I somehow ended up with like the British printing. And there's a note by Agatha Christie's grandson. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got that too.
And I basically pictured a lot of Torquay while I was reading it. So I mean, like I had a very clear image of those kinds of guest houses that they have there. And it's very possible that even today in a bad storm, you could get stuck on one of those little islands for a weekend and be there with very limited internet and phone capabilities.
Yes.
Because they would be underwater, really old underwater phone cables.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And really, you don't even have to go that far. You've had that luck of having lived there. But even in Virginia, if you go to Tangier Island,
I was going to say the same thing.
yeah.
But you wouldn't have any cell service. You don't. I've been there a couple times.
Me too.
And you don't have cell service, so you actually could do this.
The only way to get there, they do have a helicopter for emergencies, but the general public, like me and whoever, have to get there by boat. Those are chartered. So while they do have some cell service and stuff like that, they also have, you know, I mean, getting anything to those islands or that island and getting it back, or, you know, I can't even imagine buying furniture and hiking that over. It's like, how would you even do that? So,
if you guys wanted like a really good idea, I kind of pictured this one place that I remember. Now, Cornwall is much more rural than Devon. It's all the way down in the very far end, and it's all still farms, and it's very remote from everything else. And at the very tip off are the Isles of Scilly, which is Scilly, and they have like one guest house, one pub, one church. and you get there by
Oh,
boat
wow.
in the summer only. You may be able to catch a helicopter if the weather's good, but I mean, like, that's the kind of thing that I pictured. And if you kind of look around that area, that's pretty much what I pictured, like, the whole time,
Mhm.
is that kind of look. And it still kind of has that late 20s, early 30s decor, because as difficult as it is to get furniture down to islands, Cornwall's remote enough that it's difficult enough to get furniture down there.
Mhm.
So, I mean, there are definitely still areas of England that are that remote, and sections of Cornwall where you don't have any cell phone service. And
Well, and
like
I think,
two-lane roads that are only one car wide, and
Yeah.
right.
it's not that far from the modern there.
I love your description, because what I think happens in this play, and you all can chime in, please, is that Act One we only have one murder, and you
Yeah.
think, what is taking so long? But us spending this time talking about it, what's taking so long is the fact that she's painting this picture of where they are, who these people are. She's
What
giving
they
us
did.
all of the setup for this, all of the exposition. And there's so much of it that by the time Act Two comes along, you don't question the exposition, like how they got there, who they are, what their experiences are, the fact that they don't know how they got there. Like none of them seem to know who Owen is. None of them seem to know why they were invited. They each have their own idea, and they're all totally different. And so there's so much exposition that you have this clear picture in your mind of where they are and what they're doing and what their purposes are there, or at least what they think they are there for.
And we get the hint that they don't know who their hosts are, because they all keep asking Vera if she's Mrs. Owen, but she's never met them. So
Right.
she's never met them either, which I didn't realize until later. But she likewise could have been like, oh, well, I don't see Mr. Owen very much, so they must know him. They must be friends of his and haven't met his wife yet. So, I mean, like, we all got the knowledge, but nobody there knew. And still, they all started, I think it was Wargrave at some point said we all need to start sharing information. So until they
Right.
all did their big information share, which was such an ingenious, like, plot point to give more background information and to set more scene and everything like that, like, without it being just like weird dialogue about, look at this rocky outcrop that we are on, you know, or tell me
Exactly.
about your background. So I
Right.
mean, it was a really interesting plot point to get background without having internal monologues and all those sorts of things that she would have used in the novel form.
Yeah, and it does set it. I mean, the great thing about this is that it is such a timeless play. I mean, the way that the whole thing is revved up and then the way it unravels at the end, it really kind of gives us that whole sensation of, if you could change the time, just like we were talking about with Tangier and being cut off from the contemporary real world, whatever you want to call it, we really still you could change if you wanted to. You really could bring this up to be much more contemporary.
Yeah, much more
The way it's set up
modern.
initially here is that it gives you all of the background.
And amongst the wealthy, even, like those sorts of vacations where it's like, get away from it all, no internet, no phone, no TV, they're like, yeah, sure, absolutely, yeah, great. I mean, they're
Right.
like, yes, let's do that.
Right. So what are they
On
there?
purpose.
What are each of the people there for? Why did they decide to come?
That comes
work
in
there.
Act 2, right?
Yeah, working.
I think that comes, definitely in Act 2.
Have you guys read ahead by any chance? No.
I've read the entire thing.
Gotcha.
Me too. Well, Rogers and Mrs. Rogers work there.
Right.
Obviously,
We know that.
Rogers and Mrs.
And
Rogers.
Vera,
And
Vera's-
Vera is there she's there ahead of Mrs. Owens.
right.
And Dr. Armstrong said he was paid to be
Yes.
there, didn't he?
Yes,
Yeah, he
because
posted-
Mr.
Oh, right.
Owens said
Mrs.
that Mrs. Owens was sick or something like that.
Yeah.
And then
Um,
Roar. wasn't he hired also to watch everybody?
Yes.
He was hired as well.
Yeah.
Blunt was there because wait, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, Emily Blunt. She was there because
Emily
she
Blunt.
knew Mrs.
Brent.
Brent.
Brent. Yeah,
Nice. It should be Emily Blunt.
It should
Not
be
be
played by
Blunt.
Emily Blunt.
Sir.
Yes.
she is very blunt because she assumed she knew Mrs. Owen because
She
they
thought
were-
she did, yeah.
and uses the word Mrs. as in she's single as well.
Right, because she says there's no Mr. Owen. Like
Yes.
I thought that was kind of weird. That she kept
Yeah.
that. And then somebody else said Mr. Owen's not coming. It's like,
Oh, maybe they do go through. They do go through it in Act 1, where
Yeah.
because that's when they find out
Yeah.
it's UN Owen unknown.
Yeah. Unknown.
right.
Oh
Unknown.
my God! I just realized unknown. Oh,
Yes.
They bring it up.
unknown.
They say it. I thought you read the whole
Oh.
thing.
Oh no,
Yes.
I didn't think of it that much, but then I was like, unknown. Oh, I was like, why is his name UN Owen? I mean, that was the one thing that kind of wrapped around my head, and then I was like, oh wait, unknown. It's like it's like
Yeah.
it's like the same thing with Batman with like the Riddler. His name is Edward Nigma.
Yeah. 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 Agatha Christie started all of that.
Oh yes. I mean, now we think of it as cheesy, but I think back in the day it was like, oh my gosh, wow.
So it says Marsden was there. He's supposed to meet a friend. I guess he thought it was going to be this fun sort of weekend with his friend Badger Berkeley.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's like another clue to him being one of those highfalutin sort of. I went to an all boys school because they all have stupid nicknames like Badger and Pudgy and I don't know, whatever other what other goofy names they have for each other.
Wizard. The wizard is his expression, like, oh, wizard.
Oh, wizard, yeah.
Wizard.
His
You
play,
know who
the
else
island's
says
a
that
wizard.
is
Who else says that? I'm curious.
Gingy from Shrek was like, oh, wizards on you guys.
Oh, Muffin Man.
Yep, there we go.
I guess he went to Hogwarts, so he's like, I have to let everyone know that I am a wizard.
He's like trying to let everyone know and no one's picking up on it at all because they're all so dense. Okay, so Miss Brent does show
Okay.
off her letter in Act 1.
Yes.
Wargrave says that he is meeting a friend, Lady Constant Colmington.
Yep.
Mackenzie said he got a letter from a friend at the club where he lives.
Fun place to live.
It's kind of like at that point in time they were like hotel residences.
All
Yes.
right.
So it probably was quite fun.
So we do get a lot of the exposition, though. I mean, we really do get the setup for everything and all of their what they've done, and really, with the first murder is like the tip off. And then
I
the
never
story-
really understood why Lombard went. They never really
Yeah,
say.
they never tell why Lombard came.
Like I read about the book, and the book explains it a little better because the book says that he's like down to his last penny.
Yeah, he just.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and review that.
But
He had a letter. I do remember that.
he does say, he says, same sort of thing. Invitation mentioning mutual friends. I haven't kept the letter either. That's it. That's all he says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's basically just here because
Crazy.
he's just
excuse.
here.
Just for funsies. He's like, all
Just
right.
Just for
Bet.
fun, he's like, screw it.
Right.
Meeting rich people on an island. What could go wrong?
Mhm.
Everything.
I have
Everything.
nothing because we have nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And Lombard's the only one that admitted his guilt.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
No.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Oh wait, no.
No.
It was
No,
Len
Lombard said
Marsden.
Lombard said he
Marsden.
was guilty.
Marston
Just that
also
I plead
did.
guilty.
yeah. Marston also said he was guilty.
They
Well,
all
he
admit
admitted to
what
hitting
they.
the kids, but he had no remorse over
He had
it.
no remorse.
Yeah, he had
Right.
no remorse.
Lombard didn't really show any remorse either.
Yeah.
He was just like, yeah, I did it. I'll say I'm
What else?
He said
Whatever.
matter of self-preservation.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what he says on page 43. He says, at the top of 43, Lombard says, "What a law-abiding lot we seem to be, my self-accepted Wargrave. We're waiting for your story, Captain Lombard. Lombard. I haven't got a story." Wargrave sharply. "What do you mean?" Lombard grins, apparently enjoying himself. Lombard. "I'm sorry to disappoint all of you. It's just that I plead guilty. It's perfectly true. I left those natives alone in the bush. Matter of self-preservation."
Yeah.
His words cause a sensation. Vera looks at him unbelievingly. Mackenzie sternly. "You abandoned your men?" Lombard coolly. "Not quite the act of a proper gentleman, I'm afraid, but after all, self-preservation's a man's first duty. And natives don't mind dying, you know. They don't feel about it as Europeans do." There's a pause. Lombard looks around at everyone with amusement.
These kids.
Wargrave clears throat disapprovingly. And then Wargrave says, "Our inquiry rests there. Now, Rogers, who else is on this island besides ourselves and you and your wife?" And then that's when you find out there's no one else there.
Yeah.
So
See, that
one
paragraph
page
right
before the end of
there,
Act 1. I'm sorry, go ahead.
that paragraph right there, and the way he says it coolly, I feel like that is really good evidence to support that the original ending that Agatha Christie wrote, the happy ending, is the real ending.
Well, we'll get to
Because
that
nowhere
the next
else
time.
does
Yeah.
he act so callously and coolly. I mean, I guess he does, kind of joking around. Maybe he does. I don't know. Maybe that's not a fully fleshed out thought in my mind yet. I'm going to keep it back to myself. I'm taking it back. I take it back. I take it back.
Keep thinking about that, because of the two endings, which we're going to get to the next time we meet, I actually have a preference for one of them. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I don't know if you have a particular favorite ending. I definitely do.
I do too.
Yeah, so do I.
I don't
I'm
know.
curious to hear what everybody's favorite endings will be.
See, I like Lombard.
You do?
I think he's a likable character.
Are there any characters that you really don't like?
Marston. Definitely Marston.
Emily.
Emily as well. Just
Ugh, yes, I hate Emily.
Oh, Emily comes in a close second.
Well, she just dislikes, I don't know.
I know, I'm joking.
Armstrong is okay.
Yeah, Armstrong is okay.
Like, he's attempting to, like, be better, I guess.
Shall be admonished.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't go about, well, I guess this is more a discussion for the second act when more information comes about.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think that one of the things that I think
I
about
shouldn't have
when
read ahead. I shouldn't have read ahead.
one of the things I think about when I read this play is like Agatha Christie's commentary on the moral code of the characters. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
I'm kind of teetering on the fact, like, it's not like everybody's an asshole, but everybody's kind of like, some people are a bit more likable than others, but they all have kind of a dark cloud hanging over them. They did something that they either regret or don't regret at all. So they are no squeaky clean.
Right. Everybody's guilty of something.
Yes.
Maybe there are degrees to which they're guilty. I don't know. That sounds right.
Well, I feel like Vera starts off as the most, I mean, through the whole thing, she is the most likable character.
Yes.
You know, before she even shows up, Mrs. Rogers is complaining about a secretary and how they're servants too, but they're always putting on airs. But she pretty readily offers to help jump in. And she's like, there's so few staff here. Do you need any help with so few staff? And they're like, no. So I mean, like, she's kind of like redeeming already.
Yeah. And also plus the fact that her actions are literally are haunting her. She regrets what happened to the kid so much that it's just something that I kind of sympathize with her, because I'm just like, that sucks that the kid died, but
I guess it's, to me, when I read her story, I think to myself, that could happen to anybody.
Yeah.
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 That's
And
more a
actually-
matter of negligence rather than murder.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because I know that, you know, when you see stories like that in the news, especially since we all live near the ocean,
Yeah.
people, you know, but people are so ruthless when they, you know, they kind of condemn, you know, why that would never happen to me. I'd always be watching my child, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So it's probably one of the most relatable stories, I think.
It doesn't take but a second,
Yeah.
especially in the ocean, to get caught by a
Yeah.
tide and go down. And
Right.
They're gone.
yep.
And then her response to it emotionally, how she has this kind of hysteria about her that kind of continues through the whole
It shows
show.
that she really, she regrets what she does. It's haunting her.
Yeah. Who do you think is the least likable character?
Again, Marston.
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 Who I
Susie doesn't bother me.
instinctively pictured as Scott Marston.
I thought you were going to say who I immediately pictured as dying first.
I didn't actually. I was surprised he was the first to go.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, he's the least likable character in the thing. I hope he dies first. And then when I read it, I was like, yes.
No, see, don't you change your mind about some of the characters from the beginning to the end? Because there's some that I liked in the beginning, but at the end, I don't like them.
I agree with you there.
Yeah, I
I
can
mean,
kind of
I
agree
won't
with you.
discuss them now, but yeah, there's ones
There-
that I
There's
find their
Okay.
crime the most reprehensible.
Reprehensible.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
because like
Vera's for
I
sure if she were actually guilty. You know, nobody wants somebody to kill a kid. You know.
Mhm.
Right. No, I think Armstrong.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Oh,
See, I don't
yeah,
feel that way about
no.
Armstrong because I mean, like, I don't think he changed profession and intended to do so well. I mean, like, I think he intended to get as far away from possibly doing harm again. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then he just happened to become very
'cause
successful.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I think he was still kind of an idiot, but
because like didn't he say like, doesn't touch up more? Like, don't to me sounds like he was trying to get better, but unfortunately,
well, that's one of the things that what's his face Lombard notices is that he doesn't say I've never touched alcohol. He says I never touch alcohol. Like he makes a note of it and says something about how
Yeah, he does.
and that's why Lombard at the very beginning accuses him of having been drinking and operating on somebody. Like that's what he says, like immediately. I find, you know what, despite the fact of what Lombard said, I found Lombard likable through most of it.
Oh, I like
Inappropriate laughter and awkward, you know,
my favorite.
inappropriateness. Because
my-
I feel like I would also make inappropriate jokes and laugh awkwardly and horribly as well. I could relate to that, you know?
Yep.
yeah. I mean, maybe because I just read because I read the book, like the descriptions of like Lomberg, I just didn't like him because the book just sort of like describes him more sleazy stuff. So I'm just like, I don't like him because he's an asshole, and the book really paints that out. Like, yeah, this guy's a kind of an asshole. So.
Mm-hmm.
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 But
Emily doesn't seem to show much remorse.
At
Yeah.
all. She's disgusting.
Yeah.
Oh yes, no, she's pretty disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah, she's.
Yeah. She would be a
Actually,
fun
she
character
may
to play.
be my least favorite.
Gross.
Yeah, super fun.
just
Yeah.
do not like.
She's my
Mhm.
least favorite because she's horrible intentionally with no
I
remorse.
think so too.
She's malicious in it.
Mm-hmm.
Marston is just
Marston's just an asshole.
willfully ignorant, I
Yeah.
believe,
And she
is what we would go
also killed a
for.
child, you know. that
Well,
young-
he killed 2 children.
Oh yes, that's true.
Yeah, he's
True.
a stupid asshole. He's a young stupid asshole.
Wait,
But his was more of
Wait.
an accident
wait.
with no remorse.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Like,
that's
what
the interesting. We're going to wrap it up here in just a second, but I do want to say this and think about this for the next time that we meet. When we meet again, we're going to really get into everybody who did what. But I think
Mhm.
that you guys are bringing up something really interesting, and that is what the crime is and how reprehensible the crime is, but then the character's reaction who committed the crime
Mhm.
and how redeeming that makes them as a character or a human being. And so then that becomes your justification almost of saying, which is interesting because it's almost like a commentary that Agatha Christie is making even on us as the reader. She's saying, well, it doesn't bother you though that this person killed this person because then they get killed and you almost are, as a reader or a viewer, there's almost a redeeming quality of that. And I just think that is such an interesting kind of twist to go along, like, oh my gosh, somebody just got murdered. You should be horrified regardless of that murder. But the guy was a jerk and he did all these terrible things, so he got what he deserved. So
Yeah.
And does
Right.
the magic
commentary
mirror
that she even makes on us as
So-
the audience.
Mm-hmm.
So,
so you can always
well, we're running slightly over.
So
Any
you could always
last
see the
little
print.
comments before we? This was just a jump into the beginning.
what
Any
Uh,
thoughts before we go?
Um, will we be able to see the recording of this, or is
You know
this?
what? I think that if I have to look on it, but I think on Wikipedia there's actually a link for it that's free. That you
Oh
can-
no, I meant a recording of this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Nina's got that one.
I'm gonna work up a YouTube channel to get all these up for
Oh,
us.
perfect.
Oh, great.
Perfect.
Yay.
So, but again, we just touched on everything because really Act 2 and 3, everything goes downhill from there.
Yeah, everything goes.
Mom, are you sure this is a magic?
So quickly, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mom, are you sure this is a magic talk? Because
Very
it
good
isn't
voice.
doing anything.
Sorry, that's mine.
No, that's okay. Well, any final comments before we jump off tonight? Thank you guys.
I like
Actually,
that.
I'd like to say thank you as well, because these
Yeah.
are great.
Maybe there was
Yeah,
something in the
this
text
was
that I
short. I know that Nina spent a lot more time with Shakespeare, but there's a lot more depth with Shakespeare.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it's
Well,
like,
you know, Agatha
so if I
Christie is
tap it
much
and make it
more,
spin faster.
you know,
Condensed.
commercial compared to,
So
You don't have to dissect every single word and be like, but what could it mean?
right.
Ooh,
And
I have
it's
an idea, Mom.
fun. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
English teacher.
So, Nina, do you want to say anything as our main moderator, that anything to wrap us up, or?
No, not really. I was just here to make sure things didn't catch on fire. So,
So far, so good. We're all
yay!
here. So I
Yeah,
will see
good.
all of you guys next time.
Yep.
And apparently there was a mini series for this too. I didn't see it.
Ooh.
So I'm looking
Nice.
it up online. So,
Yeah, it was a BBC miniseries.
oh,
Is that the one
cool.
with Matthew Good? Because I think I just bought it.
I know Charles Dance is in it.
Wait, Matthew Good, is he the guy that's in that Discovery of Witches that I keep seeing ads for?
Yeah. He's so
Ooh.
hot.
I'm gonna
Ooh,
See,
I do love Charles Dance.
my current crush is Michael McFadden, but I mean, he could be replaced. I'm just
Wait, who's Michael McFadden?
Michael McFadden was the Darcy to Keira Knightley's Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Nathan.
But he's also, there's a fantastic, Charles Dance was Phantom. Oh yeah, I did see that Charles Dance Phantom. But Michael McFadden was also in the BBC miniseries A Little Dorrit, which was great.
I don't know that.
Oh, I don't know that either.
It says here, according to Wikipedia, that it was 2015 and that it was Douglas Booth, Charles Dance, Anna Maxwell Martin, Sam Neill. Some of these names I don't recognize.
Oh, Sam Neill.
Sam Neill. Yeah.
Dave Dermody, Bern Gorman, Miranda Richardson, Toby Stevens,
Ooh.
Noah Taylor, and Aidan Turner.
Ooh, Aidan
Yeah.
Turner. Maybe that's who it was, and not Matthew Good.
Mm.
So that was out in
Poldark.
2015. So it's not too long ago. They're still remaking this.
I love Poldark.
Yeah, Poldark is all shot in Cornwall, so those
It's
like
so
bleak
good.
cliff sides. That's what everything looks like. It's just sweeping landscapes and brooding eyebrows. It's just all.
And why did you leave?
It was a military posting.
No, it's just
I
I
want
would
to
go
go
back
to there.
in a heartbeat.
And it
If
says
I
here
win the
that they
Mega
did,
Millions, you can
they
come
did the
visit.
show in the original 1939 setting. So they did actually keep it in a period.
Perfect.
Let's say in school, I had the opportunity to study a semester abroad in Bath, and I was an idiot not to have done it.
Gosh,
were in
yeah.
fact.
Idiot.
I agree.
Idiot.
Nina, I'm ashamed.
I know. Well, it was a thing where I had a roommate who was like, "You can't leave me for a semester." And in retrospect, I'm like, "Yeah, I really could have. Everything would have been fine."
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate
Thank you.
Thank
it.
you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye,
Bye,
All
guys.
right.
next
Bye.
time.
And we will see you guys on
Bye.
Monday.
Thank
See you
you.
Bye.
Wednesday, Thursday.
Guys, keep your eyes
All right,
open.
bye,
We've got 2 more plays are in the pipeline. They should be coming out shortly.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Oh, which ones? Do you know? Do you know?
I can't say just yet, but because one of them's kind of a big deal.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, they're in the pipeline.
Very cool.
Will
Thank
we
you,
have enough
Nina.
time to
Same
buy
thing.
them?
Yes, you'll have enough time.
Okay.
Thank you,
Sweet.
Nina.
To make
Yeah.
notations.
Bye.
Notations. All right.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Nina, I'll
Thank
see you on
you.
Thursday.
Okay, yeah, see you Thursday. Because now you've
right.
given me something to think about.
Have I?
Yeah, that island silly. Now I'm just like, could that be what Cilia actually was?
No. Because it's Cecilia, isn't it?
I think so, but you know, they weren't the best spellers back then, so.
Where's my script? I don't know where. Wasn't it right behind me? Where'd it go?
Bye, Nina.
Bye.
In my disaster. I don't know. I'll look
That's
at
all
it
right. We
again.
can
But
worry
look
about
up
it.
The islands of Scilly. They're super cute. They're
Okay.
super cute.
Yeah, we can worry about
Plan
it
a
Thursday.
vacation.
All
All right.
right.
I'll see you then.
See ya. Bye, love.
Bye.